Hey folks, and welcome to the Hunger for the Hustle podcast, episode 61. My guest today, live from Atlanta, Georgia, Joe Baptise joins me. Joe, how are you, sir?
I'm absolutely wonderful, Jake. Thank you so much for having me on. I really feel privileged and it's an honor. I'm excited to be here.
It's my absolute pleasure. I'm excited to get into it with you, Joe. Joe is a master when it comes to sales negotiation and, more importantly, closing those sales. Having honed his skills for over 20 years in the automotive, corporate sales and leadership world, today, Joe uses those skills, knowledge and expertise that he gained to excel using his power voice, trained by the one, the only Les Brown, to help others excel in their life. Joe, how's your day been? I know it's coming into the evening there. It's only the afternoon here, but in the future in Melbourne.
I understand. Well, good for you. Yeah, we're winding down here. Long day, but I'm excited. This is the best part of the day, Jake, being here with you.
Thank you, sir. It's honestly, it's an absolute privilege and an honor to have you here. And it's great to speak to another fellow Power Voice Summit speaker. Let's get started and talk about that. Maybe let's even explain to the guys that are watching what the Power Voice system and program is and how you came to get involved with it, Joe.
Sure. Well, Power Voice training and the summit as a whole, but Power Voice training is basically, I believe, seven weeks with Mr. Brown and Mr. Tallarico. And they primarily walk you through real life scenarios about people, places, and things that occur in our daily living, and share with us really with an emphasis on what your voice can bring to the table to help your average citizenry. So what I got from the event was, of course, the training was great. The modules are excellent. The pace was good. But the highlight for me was truly the Wednesday nights on the back and forth real life role playing with Mr. Brown, and of course the Q&A with John Tallarico. And then to listen to everyone's stories was impactful. I got a lot out of it, and it served me well. The presentations to watching our colleagues' videos, 3-minute, 10-minute, et cetera, and then ultimately, as you and I were fortunate enough to reach the summit.
Yeah, and what a privilege that was, and I must say, you really are handpicked for that summit, because there's hundreds of people that join the program, but there's only 20 each time that speak at the summit. They've done 1, 2. I was in the first, you were in the second, the third one's coming up. But it's an opportunity that came out of what happened this year, really. Mr. Brown's a busy gentleman, speaking all around the world, doing what he has done for over 40 years. Mm-hmm. I'm quite sure, he probably wanted to do something like this for a while, but if it wasn't for what's going on in 2020, making everything a bit quiet, making travel somewhat impossible. I shouldn't use that word. I'm sure Mr. Brown wouldn't like me to use that word. But it has, it's quietened people down, people who have had busy and hectic schedules. It's given that space to people that do like and want to help others to really be able to do that. And the Power Voice program is an absolute product of that.
For sure.
Tell me, Joe, what was the experience like speaking live at a virtual summit to thousands of people?
Wow. Well, I'll say this, that even though that I've been accustomed for years to being in front of people face to face, and interacting over the years, in that realm, face to face, but for that event, to knowing that it was a live audience, and then to go live to where you don't get a second chance for rerun cut rerun. There's no second chance. Wow. So I was on edge. I was a little uneasy at first in the beginning, and a little intimidated, in fact. But it was wonderful. Everyone that was involved, that participated in our particular summit, I felt really, even though we were virtual, I felt a connection. I don't know if you felt that way. I felt the connection to each and every one of us, as we were going through the whole day, experiencing the summit. So it was phenomenal. It's everyone has a different experience with it. I'm sure yours was different than mine, but life-changing for sure, life-changing. And it was something that I wanted to do and out of my bucket list, so to speak.
Well done ticking that one off, and you really did. You did a great job, and I enjoyed watching you. It was a funny one for me because the first one, of course, the first summit. I was the first one to go up, and I had it on the TV in the lounge here. I was here in my bedroom, and I was I had my partner and my housemate were in the one room watching it, and I was in this room, and it was about, I believe it was about, what time would it have been for me? It was just after midnight. So, and then I was just so buzzed after that. I couldn't get to sleep, so pumped. I ended up getting to sleep about 4 a.m., tried to watch everyone. Then for the second Powerboy Summit, that was a bit later. So I just had that on, and I was kind of in and out of sleep and stirring, but I never forget you coming on, and that certainly woke me up and fired me up. So, yeah, it's great to tick that off the bucket list. And just, really is a life achievement. No matter if it's, in the virtual stage or the physical stage, if it's something you want to do, you still need a lot of courage, a lot of practice, a lot of skill to actually get it done and deliver your message and find your message. So, yeah, well done, Joe. Well done in doing that. You did a great job, and I look forward to seeing you speaking more events for sure.
Thank you.
Let's pull back from that, Joe. You're welcome. Let's pull back from that and get to how you came to be, in the world of business as a sales negotiator and closing those sales. Some people would say you're born with skills like that. I don't know if you were, or you had to hone them over the years.
Well, interesting. I wouldn't say born with them. I'm reminded of something that in our class, in one of our classes for the Power Voice Summit, I believe it was Mr. Brown who had mentioned that people said you're a natural at this, you're a natural at that. You've never seen a natural surgeon. You've never seen a natural hairstylist, a natural plumber. It's a craft. You work at it. Initially, when I first got involved in the industry, I was rough as a cob, so to speak. And I needed help. I needed help to transition from just becoming a greeter, if you will, to shaking hands. And I back then I was even I couldn't get past the initial greeting. Hi, hello, welcome to XYZ. My name is Joe Baptise, and you are, and then after that, I'll be like, well, I'm such and such, and I draw a blank from there. So it's a craft. It takes some work, like anything else. It takes work, but eventually I overcame those short obstacles that were hindering me to close the deal, if you will. One of my favorite sports is baseball, and I'd like to use a baseball analogy, and that's okay. That's I would go. I had no problem getting the bunt, if you will, or getting the first base with a client. So the way it used to work back in the day is when you get the first base, well, all you used to, every time you swing, when you come up to bat, you swing, most of your bats are you're going to get the first base. So back then they would let you go ahead and get you in the rotation. You get on first base, but then they tap you on the shoulder, say, hey, look, you can't run from first base to second base because you haven't proven yourself. So the short version of this, Jake, is I had recognized that once I got the first base, I needed to figure out how I could become better to get the second base and third base and eventually bring it home, because they actually would split your money back then. If you didn't complete the whole process, yeah, they take half your commission. So there were plenty of guys that if you got a double, if you got the second base, there'd be plenty of guys that walk out on the field and say, tap you on the shoulder, all right, buddy, go ahead. I'm gonna bring it home for you. Yeah, so that's kind of how I started in the industry. But eventually things began to get better for me, and I became an extremely good closer in the industry. I don't know how much you want me to delve into the sales side of it.
So I'd love to hear more. I mean, you've kind of laid it out there, the first part, Then what happened there once they started letting you get to that second base, started letting you close the sales? I'm sure that, a bit more money came your way then. That's always a nice added motivator.
Extremely. So okay, so now you're kind of new to the industry. You got 3-6 months in. You're able to, the management is trusting you to go out there and not blow an opportunity. Because they don't want you to get a lot of opportunities. It's kind of like, if you're getting a lot of swings at the bat and you're always striking out, well, they don't want to put you in the lineup. Same thing with basketball. If you keep going to the foul line, you can't put it in the hoop. They're going to have somebody else take the free throw for you. Same thing in football. If you can't catch the ball, they don't want you out on the field, et cetera, et cetera. So, but anyway, I eventually got better at closing business and identifying hurdles and obstacles. Let me back up for a second. I got better at bringing it full circle with a client. For example, they all say, what brings you out here today? And well, what are you in the market for? And some really savvy shoppers would tell you, well, I'm just looking. Okay, I'm just looking.
Not giving you much.
Huh?
Not giving you much there.
Correct. Okay, so I'm just looking. All right, well, what are you in the market for? What are you looking for? Some people say, well, I'm just looking. I just want to look around. I'll call you if I need you. So the standard role was to give them the business card. And, hey, I'll be over here, if you find something you like. But that wasn't acceptable. So you had to become more not aggressive, but more engaged and trying to get this individual to communicate with you. So what do you do is you start coming up with ways to try and bridge building with a client. And how do you do that? Well, okay, Jake, I understand you're just looking, but share with me, if you had something in mind, what would it be? Well, I don't know. I want to look. Okay, well, let me share with you that on this side of the lot, over here, for example, in Section A, you're going to find your compact cars. Section B, you're going to find your mom and pop vehicles. Section C, you're going to find your SUVs and sport utilities. That's kind of a layout of the dealership. So what model or what make or what did you have in mind for yourself? So you just keep prodding with the client, and eventually you get an answer out of them. It's kind of like that, right? Can you hear me knocking? Nobody's home. I'm not. Go away. Somebody comes to the door. Hey, what do you want? Same thing is like, all right, listen. All right, we're out here to look at your Hondas. We're interested in a Honda Accord. Okay, fine. They got what we need. All right, great. So that once you get to that level of the industry, of the business, and the key is to get people to go on a test drive. But if I could give you a summary about dealing with people, is to become an active listener, be more of a listener than to be a talker when it comes to your clients in the industry, because they'll tell you eventually what they want. And so I got good at it to the point where I became a top producer, 23 months in the industry and had one dealership. And eventually I became a floor manager. And what does the floor manager do? The floor manager actually controls the tempo on the floor with the staff, with the salespeople. You got to it's kind of like being in a lighthouse, and you're looking out there to see if there's any what's going on. There's any ships out there. What's going on out in the sea, right? You don't want to miss anything. You want to make sure you help everyone and be helpful and be there when needed. And so that's kind of how I transitioned in the industry. I got to the point where the other thing was staging. I had my whole office was staged to where it was inviting for clients to bring down the tempo when they come into the showroom. They come into the showroom. You know what I mean? You want them to feel good. You don't want them to come in and be in a rush, or be antsy. I don't know what it's like over there on your side of the world in the automotive industry, but yeah.
It's interesting you should say that, because I actually bought a vehicle recently. I actually bought the first vehicle I'd ever bought in my life. I thought it was the first one I'd bought in about 15 years, but then when I actually really thought about it, it was the first car I'd ever bought, because I'd always had one with my job, or when I was a young man, my parents gave me a vehicle, one of their old vehicles. So bought my first ever car at 32 years old. I bought my first ever car. But how I did it a little bit differently, I didn't go to the lot. I've never been to a lot, so I can't speak for it, but I found one online, and then it was being sold by a guy who was actually a mechanic. So what they have over here, which is fantastic, they have like a independent vehicle checking service that you can get someone to take a look over the vehicle and just give you an honest report and say, hey, look, realistically, the guy is telling you there's not much wrong with it. Well, the A, B, and C needs done first before you really commit to it. So, and I'm glad I got that done on this occasion, because this car needed about $3,000 of work doing to it just to get it fixed up to a nice position. And the guy was good. He said, look, I'm happy to pay for all that for you. And yeah, I bought myself a Toyota Land Cruiser and very happy with it. Very, very happy with it. So, but I'm not too sure what it's like out on the lot, but it must be the same. It's got to be similar. It's got to be similar skills that are needed across the world. But something interesting that I found what you said there, Joe, was that, to be a good salesman, it's more about listening, not about speaking, right? It's more about taking in what you hear rather than just putting it out from yourself. And we were taught that by Mr. Brown, weren't we, in the Power Voice program? You know, listen to the listening, even if it's a virtual audience. That can be somewhat harder, of course, than an actual physical audience in front of you, but that can be conveyed in the comments, excuse me, on a virtual summit or a virtual speaking presentation. But you know, listening to the listening and never letting what you want to say get in the way of what the audience wants to hear. These are like key things, and I think you can, you know, these key skills that you learn in the sales world, and therefore in any role really. You know, I as a plumber, I learned a lot of skills earlier in my life as customer service, particularly with dealing with a lot of people in one day. And you if you're smart, you can transfer those skills to then the other things as you move forward and move into other things in your life.
Exactly, Jake. I was going to mention to you that not just automotive, these salesmanship as a whole, leadership, management, they are transferable across all industries. I mean, so you're not boxed into being in any one industry. Those skills go with you for a lifetime. And so, and they're good, you know, that's a quality and a talent that you have. You know, you didn't get that from your employer. You know, you brought that to the table through your personal and professional development. So absolutely transferable. And by the way, when I was sharing with you about the being physically on the lot, things have changed now as well. Correct. Probably 70-80% of businesses done online now,
right?
Which creates a whole new unique challenge in the industry, not just in automotive, but you know, across the board with sales, because you don't get the warm, touchy feeling. You don't get to see the eye-to-eye contact. You know, you don't get that to make that build that chemistry, if you will, when dealing with online purchases. So it's sort of been cleansed, or what's the word I'm looking for? It's more sanitized now. A lot of consumers, you know, a lot of consumers now don't want the chummy, you know, let's be friends and let's find out, you know, what church you go to and what sporting events, you know, you participated in, and do you have any children in Little League? That's kind of gone by the wayside now. Now it's kind of like get to the bottom line. It's like, you know, what's the price? And so many words, right? Business is extremely competitive.
It is, and everything's become a lot faster, like you say. You know, people just want the information quickly. They want to know now. They want to know what the price is. Things do move considerably quickly in business, and I can just say that just from I've been properly in business for, let's say, I would say 10 years on and off. But it's changed even in that time in the way that you conduct things, and certainly the way in which you engage with people. As has, you know, particularly things like the speaking industry this year, it's really gone as a whole, you know, online. And actually, I found that it's been perfect timing for me, I must say, because as someone who's moved into the speaking industry, it's been a great place to get started and to hone your skills while you're in the comfort of your own home, and just getting used to using these skills, you know, with the camera, that can then level you up to the big stage, the big time when it comes, which undoubtedly it will.
Indeed. In fact, that's why you have to be adaptable. And the one thing that's constant is change. You know, one thing that is a constant is change. You know, not, you know, in life. You know, one of my favorite phrases or quotes is, "You're either green and growing or ripe and rotting for a lifetime, and age isn't a factor." You know what I mean? You know, Benjamin Franklin. You know, people die at 25. People die at 25. They just wait until they're 65, 75 to be buried. So, you know, your age is not the issue. It's how are you going to be able to adapt and change? And I don't recall exactly what author I read it from, but for a lifetime, for a lifetime, you know. I mean, one speaker I heard one time, he had mentioned he was, I want to say he was pushing 80. And he had said, today is one of the best days of his life. This is a true story. He was pushing 80, and he said, today's one of the best days of his life. And people started laughing in the audience, right? Because, you know, dude, you know, you're getting up there now. What do you mean it's one of the best days in your life? You know? And he had said, they said, well, how old are you? He said, well, I'm 80. Tomorrow's my birthday. And the guy says, wow, you're kind of already there. He said, I'm looking forward to being 81. He said, well, I wouldn't want to be 81. And the guy says, well, that's because you haven't been 80 yet. If you're 33, you want to be 35. If you're 80, you want to be 81. So I just found some humor in that. So,
yeah, absolutely, I agree. Yeah, one thing is constant is always change, and you know, if this year's highlighted one thing to people, it's that you got to roll with that change and evolve with it. Evolve or become extinct is something I like to say, and yeah, this year's really brought that home.
For sure.
Now let's talk about some challenges in business that you've had, Joe. You know, being in business that long, 20 years, does not come without its challenges, as does life itself. You know, but I tend to find that when I talk about these with my guests, the challenges, the failures, perhaps you've been through, the lessons that get shown to the audience there are just so valuable.
Sure. So I'll back up here for just a bit. So my 20 years in the industry, I was more of an employer side of the industry. And so one of the challenges, so I've always been able to generate income because there was everyone else was doing the marketing and advertising and providing the inventory, et cetera, et cetera. If you want to call me a contractor or self-employed in some instances, so be it. But one of the things that I want to share is that I kind of stayed too long in the industry because the industry paid me so well, but I wasn't growing, I wasn't developing any longer. I could kind of do it in my sleep. So for business purposes, I did eventually get out because I wanted to get my time back. And so some of the hurdles and challenges I experienced in these last 4 years of making money on my own has been one of them is, you know, you got to do it. There's no one going to do it for you. So you're confronted now with a lot more pressures to get it done. Your creativity has to kick in. And you have to have a passion and a drive and an intensity about yourself, more so than when you're an employer for someone else, because you know, it's up to you. If it is to be, it's up to me. You know, you've got to do it yourself. And so, you know, so that lives with me. But the rewards on the other side of it are you know, tenfold, Jake, about, you know, all the benefits that come with doing it for yourself. I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, you sure did answer the question, and it can be challenging, you know, when it's just you and you've got no one else to rely on. You know, if you don't get that work done today, no one else is going to get it done for you, and nor are they going to get it done tomorrow or the next day. So, yeah, and look, I can speak from personal experience on that one. Let me tell you, you know, thinking, oh yeah, okay, I got a list of 10 things to do, and just, you know, trying to have a go at some of them. Yeah, something I've actually been working on recently, right this week is you know, out of that list, what's priority, what needs done today. If it's not done today, it's really going to affect tomorrow, and figuring that out. And you know, that's why coaches and mentors can be good, or just, you know, friends and family, people that have been through the same similar stuff, because they can tell you where they went wrong, so you don't have to do the same thing.
Agreed. A network is huge. You know, having a network of support, and then associating with like-minded individuals, and having resources. And it doesn't have to be financial resources. You know, it's resources for teachable moments, resources to reinforce the can-do attitude. You know, those resources, whatever are needed, you know, they're a godsend, Jake. You know, because there's going to be those down days. There's going to be the day. I remember initially when I used to buy and sell cars independently, and so, but I always wanted to make sure I give someone something of value. I'm not one I want a win-win situation. And I remember distinctly that I had picked up a Toyota, in fact, not a Land Cruiser, but a Toyota Highlander. And I sold it on a Friday to this lady, and Monday she called me up and she had some issues. Now I sold it. I guess we can say it here. You know, I made about $3,500 on the purchase profit. So she called me up on Monday, and basically it was too big for her son to drive. You know, he was a 16-year-old. He didn't really want it. She thought that he would be safe with all that body around him. You know, and it's a Toyota, dependable. Well, there was really no such thing as taking it back because you weren't happy with the product, So, and in fact, money was tight back then, and I guess what we're bringing up is about service. Money was tight back then, and I didn't have it to reimburse her, but I wound up taking the vehicle back and giving her money back, for future blessings. That was there was nothing wrong with the vehicle, purely that she made a mistake, made the wrong purchase, and I didn't have it to give. But I looked at my character, my integrity, and my relationship going forward in the community, and I just didn't want that bad karma. So, you got to do right by people is what I'm getting at, Jake.
Yeah, just do the right thing in all situations. I think, Joe. Wherever you can, and really, if you're working for yourself, of course you can. A lot of the time, it's your choice and your decision, and by doing the right thing, even though it might not be right for you at the time. You've got to be customer focused, customer centralized, and it's the right thing for the customer. And, that's probably going to lead to actually more repeat business because they're going to go, hey, look, yeah, I know Joe down at the lot on the corner. I bought a car off him. Nothing wrong with the car. The car was great. It was my error in buying it. And he gave me my money back without any hassle. That's word like that is going to spread fast for you in business. Integrity, honesty.
Sure, it did. In fact, not from her. But not from her, but I know it did because things floodgates opened up. I was having more of a need than I could fulfill, which helped my pocket immensely transition from even that stage of where I wanted to be, which was still wanted to break away from automotive, but I had some liberties back then. So yes, it did. Absolutely. I did. It did. Mm-hmm.
And let's talk about some wins, some triumphs you've had in business, some moments that really stuck out for you. Made you proud to be an owner operator?
So I kind of made a little note here. So one of my this is a big win for me on transitioning to what my passion is, what my desires, goals, and drive is right now, which is public speaking, which is training, negotiating, setting up some coursework to help others who have a void in some areas where I have strengths. But one of my big wins, Jake, was getting a small check, a $500 check from one of my universities to speak to the marketing and advertising department virtually. Although it was just a small check, that was the biggest check that I'd ever received speaking. And so I knew then that I was hook, line, and sinker in the industry because I had proved that I could do it. Actually, not just to volunteer, but I could actually generate some income, and that led to another speaking engagement, with the school system. And so that was one of the big ones for me. That was a big win, although it was just a small check. It was big up here.
Yeah. Of course. People say it's funny. People say you never forget your first time, and it's true, right? It doesn't matter in what respect you're talking about or that first time, what context it is. You never forget the first one. Just like the first time I spoke at the Power Voice Summit, that was the first time I ever had spoke in a public forum at all. Something I'll never ever forget. Never forget that first sale you close in a new business. You never forget that first check you get. And I commend you on A, finding your passion, and B, then going after it, because the two things are, of course, closely connected, but one kind of doesn't hold too much gravity without the other. You can find your passion, and that's fantastic, but then unless you actually pursue it and act on it and go forth with it, it's not really going to develop into something that, if you want it to, is going to be something that pays the bills. Indeed.
It's all about action. How big or small, just keep putting one foot in front of the other, just picking up the phone, just sending out one email, just put it out there in the universe. I like to go for long walks, power walks, and occasionally I have my AirPods on and listening to some positive affirmations. But on rare occasions, I like to just get out in the nature with no headset on and talk to myself. You'd be surprised at what you can discover when you have those intimate moments with yourself, that you can just talk to yourself. I know. I saw you. I believe you like archery. I've never.
Yeah, I do like archery. Yeah. There's and that's something I've done a lot actually just by myself. Yeah, because it's something that requires a lot of focus. and it's something. It's repetition, and it's visualization as well. Actually, all those things come into it. It's a sport of that really tests you. I would say it's a funny sport because it's more about the mental than the physical. Of course, the repeated action of drawing the bow back and letting it go, but it's more about your mental clarity, your mental focus, and your visualization of where that arrow is going to go when you let it go. But it's you must have seen that photo I put the other day then, where I said, much like life itself, it's aim, focus, hit the target, just rinse and repeat.
That's correct. Now, how many yards? What's a good yardage for you on the bow?
Hi, look, I'm still the furthest I've ever got is we work in meters here. The furthest I've ever worked back from the target is 20 meters. Okay. So I'm still pretty amateur, but on a good day, I can still put in a good kind of 1 to 2 inch group at 20 meters.
Outstanding. There you go. Like you said, practice, and application. Yes. The more you use it, the better you become.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Use it or lose it, I guess.
Use it or lose it. That's right. Practice doesn't make perfect. It makes improvement. It's the only way you're going to get better. Folks, if you've just joined us, this is the Hunger for the Hustle podcast. This is episode 61. I'm talking with Joe Baptise, and I'm just about to ask Joe how he defines the word hustle, what it means to him, and what has drove his hunger for it over the years.
Happy. I was waiting. I'm glad they get that question, Jake. I don't blame you to ask for each and every one of us, and you get a different answer from different people.
Yeah.
So my to me, hustle means that I'm still interested, that I want and need to be doing what I'm doing. I still have the burning desire in me, because if you don't have it, you're not going to continue to hustle. You're going to lose that hustle. So it's a reminder that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. The other thing about hustle is I know that there's an old saying that the wolf on the mountain is always, the wolf climbing the mountain is always hungrier than the one that's on top of the mountain. And so that I say that to say that he's hustling up that hill to get up there where he wants to be. The hustle is good. Hustle is good. Think about it. They tell you to hustle in sports. They tell you to hustle that doing this, hustle doing that. So when you've got that hustle in you, it emits it sends out a good message to the universe. So to me, the hustle is everything. If I lose my hustle, I lose my drive. I lose my passion. I need to go find something else to do. And when I'm hustling, I know that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. When I'm not hustling, I know that I'm being comfortable and staying average. So, keep that hustle, keep that drive, be the hustle, Jake. That's what it means to me. It lights a fire in me, it brings out my passion, when I want to hustle.
Love it, Joe. I reckon the only time you're not hustling, brother, is when you're asleep.
And then right, that's right. And then and hopefully you put it on the brain so that it works on your subconscious. So when you wake up, you can physically start doing it again.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you ought to can that, Jake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me if you let's wind it back and say you went back to just getting started in business. Is there anything you would do dramatically differently along the way? Is there a different approach, different perspective you go at it with, or?
So, and I know that you probably have heard it before about, I wish I would have started sooner. I wish I would have started sooner. I wish I wouldn't have sort of try and pre-plan, to make sure that there wouldn't be any potholes along the way, to make sure that I was looking out for any landmines or roadblocks along the way, pre-preparing, and before I take off. If I had to do over again, I wish I would have done it a lot sooner and just took the licks and the beatings and everything along the way. Because if you really got the drive, if it's something that you really want to do and you're scared to do it, just do it, and then be accepting of the scars and the bruises and everything else that comes along the way. You'll find a way to get it done. And if you don't find a way to get it done, there's always a pause and the process, and dust yourself off, pick yourself up, and get back out there again. So yeah, I wish I would have done it a lot sooner.
Yeah, and look, that is an answer I've heard before, but it's the truth, right? It's how you perceive it, it's how you see it, and getting started sooner is definitely something that I think a lot of people wish they had done in business, and the reason that they got stopped from starting sooner is often because of their beliefs, or not even their beliefs, but the beliefs they were given from their parents, teachers, peers, even friends, family. I found, why didn't I get started in business sooner? Because I really had no better idea. I really didn't think I could aspire to more than working for someone else. And it was what I'd learned out of school. And I just kind of got stuck in it for a while. It's funny because I'd always had, little businesses along the way, but it's easy. It's easy to believe those things that other people say to you, and you get caught up in and not aspire to more. But the moment that you make the decision not to, and it starts working out, you do just think, why didn't I do this sooner? Why didn't I start this a few years ago?
Yeah, Jake, speaking of that, I'm reminded of, I don't know what it's like on your side of the world, but 100 years ago here in the U.S., I grew up in the Northeast. There were mom and pop stores everywhere. There was delis, there was barbershops, there was tobacco shops, there was theaters, local theaters, there was a lot of pizza parlors, everything about when I grew up. And so what happened between now and then? Well, in relation to us, becoming independent and working for ourselves, well, historically we go to school, we get a skill, and we become part of an assembly line, that in so many ways, we come out and do what our parents did or do what some of our relatives did. It becomes the norm. And so we become part of the normal process. And so it really takes a unique individual to find that drive or that want, to get out here and do it for themselves. Because, as we've heard before, Murphy will come looking for you. Murphy's Law come looking for you. It reminds you, you're in the wrong. Get back in there. Get back in there. We want you back in there selling for us. We want you back in there doing work for us. So yeah, it's unique. It's unique individuals to get it done.
Yes, it does, and it's an interesting point you make, Joe. That we went from this time in the world. Of course, I'm 30, just over 30 years old, really, but I did see, used to see a lot more of that when I was a young man. There was a lot more smaller stores, a lot more family-owned businesses, whether that be the corner shop, the newsagent, the restaurant, etc., etc. And we moved away from all that, and it all became, big corporate chain stores, big malls, and things like that. And I wonder, like, if with what's happened this year, we're going to go back to these smaller stores and things, but I'm not too sure how that will play out, whether it's going to be in a brick and mortar sense, because I think that is just being, that is in a battle for territory with online, and online is considerably winning that. But I think there's going to be a lot more, they're calling this year the e-commerce gold rush, a lot more people coming out and making their money online and just coming up with their own store, their own small store, whether they're selling t-shirts, selling the cakes that they bake, or speaking, like you and I do, right, making the money out of speaking online, and that in its own is, you're your own brand, you're your own small business. So I think there's going to be a trend. Personally, I think there's going to be a trend of small business coming back, and people wanting to support that small business because they want to support their own country, right? Everyone's country has taken a knock, and no one's going to want to rely on import export as much as we used to. So I think, and I hope that's a welcome change of things that's coming back, but in a kind of in a new world twist.
Yeah, I agree. I see it. I see it. I'm feeling it. I think that's going to take place for sure. Yeah.
I already see it in the way that people wanting to buy, you know, Australian made, American made, British made. People are already wanting to go back to that. You know, particularly as you pertain to some of the older generation, know that it used to be like that a lot more. You know, a lot more products you used to get used to be American made, and people want to go back to that because they see the value of shopping local and buying local and supporting local.
Right. Putting your local citizenry to work and supporting them.
Yeah, putting money back into the community, right?
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Now, Joe, you're a man who sure has got a plethora of goals and dreams and things that you're working towards. But I'd love for you to share some with us today.
Yes, I'm happy to. So right now, I want to build on the existing platform that we are pretty much, I'll say, under construction. I like to use that word. It's still under construction with a few things, and some of those things are. Excuse me, Jake.
All right.
Yeah, we want to keep things affordable for the clients that we engage with. We want to become more charitable. We want to speak to youth, underprivileged individuals, and people with disabilities. That's part of what we want to be tasked with going forward. I'm not so much chasing the almighty dollar as much as I'm chasing my passion, my vision, and my dream at this point. Of course, I want to make money, you know, but I really want to be more altruistic and becoming more of a giver. And by that, you know, I can't help but get blessed along the way. The other thing is we're going to put together. We have some courses in the making for other people who are deficient in some areas, such as customer service, communication skills, finance, executive leadership, management, marketing, negotiation, sales, and time management, just to name a few. That's going to be available at an affordable price, online courses. Hence, what you were just talking about e-commerce business. So those are my goals. And concert with staying healthy, of course.
Oh yeah,
that's for another That's for another discussion.
Yeah, it's got to be up there, right? Without health, you know, you're not going to be. If you haven't got your health, you're going to find it pretty difficult to excel in other areas.
That's correct. Yeah,
that's paramount.
Indeed.
Joe, we're coming to the end of the episode here, and I've had a fantastic time talking to you and back and forth on business and your story and the things you've learned inside it. And actually in that, I've learned some things as well today. So I hope the audience has too. But before you go, Joe, I'd love for you to share 3 hot tips and perhaps a book recommendation with the audience in regard to business.
Happy to do that, Jake, and thank you for the question. If I could give any tip, one of my first tips is association. Be cognizant of your association, who you associate with, you know, what you do with your time to associate. Of course, networking is key, and network outside of your network. And what do I mean by that? This is all tip number 1, that I had gotten stuck in a particular industry for a long time. And when I had that, because hopefully it'll happen to some of other individuals, I'm certain it will. When I wanted to do something different, you know, I had no network. And so here I was starting all over again from the beginning. So networking, be mindful of your associations, and read, become a reader. Reading is to your mind what exercise is to your body. Got to get the cobwebs out. You know, you got to read. Even if it's 10 minutes a day, start with 10 minutes a day, you know, and read with a purpose. Be away from individuals. You know, we talked about having your one-on-one time with yourself, you know, your alone time. You know, take some of that time and read. Even when I first started reading, I was challenged to get past 3, 4, 5 pages. I kid you not. And so I became in love with reading, and it expands your mind and takes you outside of your existing world. So reading, so association, reading, and the other tip that I would give was don't neglect your diet. You know, don't neglect a good diet for eating habits, because you know you are what you eat. You know, and so you know whether it doesn't matter whether you're 17 or 77. You know, practice good eating habits. You know, at some point, eat green. And so the good book, the book, Jake, that I want share is I'm going to go back all these books out that are current now, but I'll give you a classic. It's called The Magic of Thinking Big by David Schwartz. The Magic of Thinking Big by David Schwartz. And that book was an eye-opener for me. We're going back about 2 decades. You'll find it. It's an inexpensive book, but it's called The Magic of Thinking Big by David Schwartz. Still relevant today. I'm sure you'll find a lot of nuggets in that book, and I still own a copy in my library today. So thank you.
Thank you, Joe. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. I'm going to drop your Twitter, Facebook, and website in the comments here, but you just want to tell the folks, for anyone who's perhaps listening to the audio back later and can't see the video or the comments, where is the best place to find and connect with you?
Absolutely. Thank you, Jake. So joedelivers.com. That's my web address, joedelivers.com. And please go to joedelivers.com and register your information so I can become a part of your universe. And I have a gift for you on my website. So please go to joedelivers.com and register. I have a gift for you, and I'd like to become a part of your universe, and hopefully we can add value to each other. And of course, on Facebook. And then other than that, the old-fashioned way, Jake, I'd go out and give out my phone number, but I'm not going to do that. So thank you.
Thank you, Joe. It's been an absolute pleasure spending some time with you today. I've really enjoyed myself, and I'm sure the audience has too. Folks, whether you've been listening now live or you're listening back later, thank you for joining. Please like and subscribe. And if you know anyone that you think can get some value from this episode, anyone that wants to be in the world of business, anyone that already is in the world of business, please share this episode with them. Thank you so much, Joe. And thanks everyone for watching.